Our speaker is Corinne Fortier, anthropologist, psychologist, and film director at the French National Center of Scientific Research, Collège de France, Paris, France. Corinne Fortier is an anthropologist, psychologist, and film director at the French National Center of Scientific Research. She conducted research in Mauritania and in Egypt, as well as on Islamic scriptural sources related to gender, body, love, and descent. In 2005, she received Bronze Medal of the French National Center of Scientific Research. In 2021, she edited the volume Poétise Love, Affects, Gender and Society, Anthropology of the Middle East, and in 2018, she co-edited the book with Eamon Creel and Irene Mai, Reinventing Love, Gender, Intimacy, and Romance in the Arab World. Today, she will give a talk on the topic, Love in the Arab World.
So I'm very glad to be here and present my talk about love in the Arab world. So affective, I apologize for my French accent. Affective, okay. Affective and sexual intimacy constitutes a very sensitive issue in the Arab world because of both the relative spatial segregation between men and women and the specific prohibitions related to modesty that regulate interactions in various spheres. Nevertheless, moments of closeness have always been possible and perhaps even more today, thanks to creation of a new social spaces, university, gender mixed coffee shop, etc., and new communication technology like internet, cell phones, etc. Nevertheless, love has often been neglected when studying gender dynamics in Arab Muslim countries. While many research has been conducted on male domination, female agency, and the relation to religious and social norms, the complex role of love has been largely neglected, despite its importance for the performance of gender. This absence is especially striking given the fact that both in present and past times, love has been a major preoccupation in lives of peoples north and south of Sahara, east and west of the Levant. While undeniably embedded in gender relation of power, love is a highly ambivalent field of experience that involves a good deal of negotiation between partners and sometimes with their families, and which may stand in a tense relationship to ideals of patriarchal domination. I will argue that the anthropology of love can grossly be divided in three main trends. Firstly, a trend which is mainly preoccupied by assessing the universal character of the emotions related to romantic love. Secondly, a trend which tries to outline structural features allowing the valorization of romantic love in certain societies compared to others in which its feelings are rather considered by its member as dangerous. Romantic love is often considered as dangerous, but also in Occidental societies. And a trend focusing on the global circulation of imaginaries of love. And these three approaches have all their assets. They draw a continuum between the most abstract and analytical definition of romantic love, aiming at assessing its universality or to use it as a comparative device between societies to more descriptive and precisely historicized definition, tracking references to imaginary of love across societies. Anthropology began only recently to take into interest in love, when the study of structures and functions were determining its path of inquiry. Individual feelings as love had only a minor role to play for research. Few existing early exceptions concerning the Pacific island, whose alleged habits of free love has nourished European and North American fantasy, See, for example, Malinowski, Magomed Mead, and in France, Cherkizov. In the Middle East, anthropologists were interested mainly in kidship, with a special focus on the specificity of the so-called Arabic marriage, the marriage with the cousin, I say, the parallel patrilineal cousin, without in much of case taking care of sentiments involved. If we consider larger trends in anthropology, it is possible, so as I say, to grossly distinguish three main approaches. And the first trend is mostly based on comparative surveys of culture and rooting its understanding of emotion in biology, emphasizes the universality of the feelings associated with romantic love. The second trend, among whose main proponent figures the US anthropologist Charles Lindholm, studies the allowance of romantic love as an outcome of structural features. Basing likewise his research on a comparative survey of cultures. From here, there are three types of society which favor love: hierarchical rigid society with a strong kinship system in which love's relations are an escape but remain opposed to marriage, and secondly, fluid societies in which people try to combine love and marriage, and thirdly, societies in which young people are given the freedom to experiment with love until a certain age, but are sooner or later pulled back into a rigid kinship system and marriage. The fluidity is planning for him the linkage of love and marriage, parallel sociological theory, which consider romantic love as an outcome of systemic features of European and North American capitalism. A third trend considers romantic love first as a discursive formation originating in Europe and North America, and studies the impact of these circulating love imaginaries in other parts of the world. And yes, so among the common sense categories that anthropology seriously contribute to question are those of love, marriage, and arranged marriage. Far from a binary opposition, it appears that the necessity to conciliate family support with emotional involvement allows many in-between solutions. Thus, arranged marriage and love marriage in the pure form of forced marriage or of union which will rest on the pure dictate of emotion is difficult to find. So in the Middle East today, the categories of arranged marriage and love marriage remain important emic categories orienting marital choices. Hence, in the process of negotiation by future spouses and their families to find matching partners, the ability to express romantic feelings features among the criteria many include to their selection. Likewise, Islamic law in its current understanding codifies the rights and the duty of the spouses and promotes a model of hypergamic marriage notion. Hypergamic marriage in Islam is very important, and it means that the woman has to marry a man socially equal or upper, or from a upper class to her, to avoid misalliances. Women go through marriage from the guardianship of their father to that of their husband. If the marriage is already present as a festive event, it can be a trauma also in some cases for women, because it is a symbolic break with her family, even in certain rare cases resulting in tears during the marriage ceremony. However, ethnographic evidence complexifies this picture, showing the agency of women in the process of negotiating their marriage. Likewise, the Islamic notion of kafaha, that's what I said before, of equality, or that the woman has to marry a man which is equal or from a lower class, which is a category which, emic category and Islamic category. can have a wide meaning, including most notably class, age, formal marital status, physical appearance, and religiosity. The balance of these criteria in each marriage can be the object of a complex bargains. Nevertheless, arranged marriage and love marriage are categories which travel all around the world with a deep impact on practices and imaginaries. Discourse condemning love marriage or praising it abounds. The praise of the nuclear family as an harbor of love by colonial reformers, missionaries, and education facilities, along with novels, songs, and film showing stories of Hollywoodian happy hands or existence broken by unhappy union, encored the idea that love and marriage should fit together. Often, however, romantic love is contrasted by people to love after marriage, which they sometimes consider as the only real love. The ideal of romantic love is today present in Arab societies. Also, it is often not deemed a necessary component of marriage. Love can be thought of as a sentiment young people can cultivate before marriage as a dangerous feeling that can compromise the success of a couple, as an ideal to be pursued, but difficult to experience within marriage, or as a feeling typical of also extramarital relationship. Also, in society, some societies, romantic love is related to extramarital relationship and not in the marriage relationship. Romantic love is also linked with consumerist practices related to the transnational capitalist economy and the development of new technology. I think it doesn't. Okay, it's okay now. Romantic love is also linked with consumeristic practice related to the transnational capitalist economy and the development of new technologies of communication. I understand romantic love less as the only possible form of love than a specific configuration of it, which presupposes a self-conscious performance of subjectification and a specific configuration of state policies, infrastructural improvement, new technology, economic opportunities, and vehicles of expression. Romance, considered as a specific mode of intimacy, is characterized by both a phantasmatic, subjective, and ludic dimension, like let's say a psychologic dimension, and a more anthropologic, strategic, rational, and social dimension. Seduction is an art necessitating personal and cultural knowledge and social knowledge that generally abides by gender and age rules. So the ideal of romantic love is very present in Arabic and Muslim society culture and poetry. Also, it is not always deemed a necessary component of marriage, but even a feeling typical of extramarital relationship. Romantic love has often been neglected when studying gender dynamics in Arab Muslim countries. This absence is especially striking given that both in present and past time, love has been a major preoccupation in the life of Arabic and Persian people, which is well documented in their poetry. Concerning the Arab world, Lila Abulugod, in a book in 1986, played an important role in anchoring the topic of love in anthropological research, anchoring the topic of love in anthropological research. In her analysis of poetic genre among the Ouled Ali Bedouins of northwestern Egypt, she shows how poetry praising honor was used in parallel with poetry expressing desire, sometimes contradicting kinship rules, and also in my work that I did in Mauritania, in the Moorish society, an Arabic society in Mauritania. I also work about love and poetry in also a Bedouin society where love is very important, and love poetry is very important. Love has been described often as a feeling born in the West in the 12th century. See, for example, there is a lot of French, like de Rougemont researcher like de Rougemont who say that it is a French, it is Occidental West as emotion and not like if it doesn't exist in other society, and it is rarely associated with the Arab world. While the Persian Arabic pre-Islamic poetry of the 6th century testifies the existence of love poetry in the ancient Middle East amongst the Bedouin of the Arabian desert before flourishing in the Arabic cities and Persian cities and finally in Europe. The Nasib as a nostalgia, so there is two types of poetry in this 6th century pre-Islamic and Arabic poetry. There is one which is called the Nasib. This is a nostalgic style evoking places haunted by women and the delusion pangs they provoke. The poet sings the absence of his beloved, identifying her with the place where he met her, in the desert. Some links the term Nasib to the Arabic verb nasaba, meaning to sing the lady beauty and the trouble she inspires. The Nasib has a nostalgic style, evoking places haunted by women, and the poet sings the absence of his beloved, and the nostalgic tone of Bedouin poetry, in which the poet depicts the vestige of the past, is suggested in Arabic by this periphrase, to stop or to cry on the remain of the past. Al-Wuquf ala-Atlal. The soul of this kind of poetry will hold in the adage of Epicure sentence, sweet is the memory of the disappeared beloved. A bittersweet feeling found in many poetic, and musical traditions through the world is this joy and this painful emotion, ambivalent emotion related to love. An archetypal phrase expressing the suffering provoked by the beloved absence is, in Arabic, I am longish with love for you. This expression derives from the Arabic term washa, which means to languish. This notion, which refers to nostalgia, is similar to the Baudelairean spleen, an English term, the spleen, which refers to the organ of spleen. It is also close to the Portuguese saudade, an expression which first used by the troubadour de Sancho, and which was probably inspired by the courteous Arab ideal, as indicated by the Arabic etymology of this term. The saudade, Portuguese saudade, it came from sauda in Arabic, which means designates the atrabil. Atrabil, you say, or atrabil? Sorry? Yes, but the atrabil. No, it's a humor of the body, a substance of the body. Like in medicine, you have 4 humors. You have blood. Okay, so the soda is the atrabil. In French, it's atrabil, okay. The term of melancholy also in French derived from the Latin melancholia, which derives also itself from the Greek melas kole, black bile. I don't know in English, is it bile or bile? Bile, that's why I say, okay, atrabile for soda and black bile, yes. So you see that it's very incorporated. And the nostalgia and this romantic love is also related to body substance. So these various expressions have in common to establish a relation between a particular psychological state marked by languor And one of the moods of the body, in this case the black or atrabide mood, in conformity with the humoral theory of Hippocratic origin, well known in the West, but also, in the Arabic medicine. As in Europe, this Greek medicine came from Arabs. So I develop all this in the book I quoted before. So, and Ghazal, the second form of poetry, which is very important in pre-Islamic, there is Nasib and there is Ghazal. It's another kind of poems, and it refers to a more straightforward type of poetry related to flirting. You are flirting with poetry. The word Ghazal itself derives from the verb ghazala in Arabic, meaning courting. So it's not poetry is not related as in Europe or in US or in Canada related to literature, but to courting a woman. So to practicing and to perform love. So the means used to conquer the woman are similar to techniques of hunting and borrow their vocabulary from warriors and hunters' language. The woman is a prey, a gazelle, the animal, according to the classical Arabic poetry image, another object of envy, which men try to capture as a precious trophy. This animal, when known in the Arabian desert, the gazelle, represents the beloved in a Bedouin Arabic poetry. And a series of 7 to 10 Arabic poems or qasaid dating from the 6th century are attributed to several Bedouin poets of Arabia is the anthology of reference of the Arabic poetry in matters of love. Given their popularity among the Bedouin population, these poems were initially oral, like, everything in this society were oral before being written, even the Corinne. This poem was so sacred, and the Bedouin people, they love it so much, that they were written in gold letters and hung at the Kaaba, in Mecca. Not presently, but before. That's a pity, not presently, but so and they were suspended to the Kaaba, and so that's why they are known. They have the name Mu'alakat, which means to be suspended. So this poem of love were in the Kaaba, in the Mecca. The theme of feminine beauty is largely developed in these anti-Islamic poems, in which women are elevated to the rank of goddess. Men appear in Arabic pre-Islamic poetry as devoted admirers of women in a tone similar to that of Arabic pre-Islamic poetry or medieval Occitan madrigals, which mostly describe the woman as a mistress of whom the poet is a devout slave. The smile has also been a great inspiration, the smile of the woman, for the Arab poet of anti-Islamic times. They describe the beauty of the woman, a smile, even sometimes there is erotic body. The smile is often compared to a flowering. The metaphor that is very suggestive in the desert of Arabia, where there is no vegetation. So the idea of flowering is associated in Bedouin Arabic poetry with pasture and with wealth and renewal, images that are opposed, that of drought as a symbol of desolation and happiness. So love passion excessive in essence can be said only in excess with its joy and its distress. An archetypal phrase expresses the suffering provoked by the beloved absence. That is the man. The man is feminized when he's a poet and is in love. He say, "I'm languishing with love for you." And this expression derives from the classical Arabic term "shok," like I said before, and as it's used, It is also in the Mejnun Leila, which is very well-known poetry, and you know also the name of the poet. You don't know, you know more the name of the woman he loves, as the woman that the poet loves, that's the name of the poet himself. The poet is known as Mejnun Leila, so the crazy of Layla. So it is the woman name which is more known than the name of the poet himself. So yes, this poet Mejnun Leila of the 7th century he was known under the name The Fool of the Maid of Layla, by reference for the woman for who he composed poems. His real name is Qais ibn Mulawa, but most of the time people don't know his name. The theme of madness represented by love passion is common in Arabic poetry, as evidenced by the paradigmatic case of Mejnun Leila, which were transposed in the 12th century by also the Persian poet Nizami, which is also well-known poet, Persian poet, into a sentimental landscape, no longer Bedouin, but urban, which greatly influenced Persian poetry. Persian poetry, which is well-known, is a lot of influenced by Arabic Bedouin poetry. The case of Mejnun Leila is far from being isolated, as shown by the case of another Bedouin Arab poet of the 7th century, less known also by his own name, Jamil in Mama, that under that of also the name of the woman he loved, Butaina. So he's known under the name Jamil Butaina, so by a feminine name. So a gender diverse name that refers to the first name of his beloved, Butaina, which whom he is madly in love. So the name of the beloved who returns had a leitmotif in Arabic poetry as incantatory power, as if by naming the absent, so the beloved woman, the poet makes it present, especially in a cultural and religious context where the repetition of the name of God also as perform is like performing the presence of God by repeating his name. And in the poems, it's it's kind of blasphematory, because it's not the name of God which is repeating, but the name of the woman he loves. So it's the kind of blasphemy. So the man who experiences the state of passion is feminized, finding, you know, in most of the West, we have a very, I think, prejudicial idea of men in Arabic country, like very patriarchal, and the poetry, the men and the love passion show that there is also a state of feminization of men being in love. And so the poems is a place a space to express for men their emotions. They express their emotion, including sometimes nostalgia, blasphemy, and also jealousy for other men, or sometimes for the husband of the woman, because sometimes the woman he loves is also married. So singing the beauty of the beloved and the disorder she inspires is a way of acknowledging his emotional vulnerability, but it is also a mode of conquest of the woman. Far from hiding his flame or his love, the lovers try to inspire the same passion in the woman by revealing it through his poetry, in an attempt to disturb her through the expression of his feeling. It is not until the woman is touched by the man's vibrant appeal that she can give her favors in response to this love. The lover's tears are intended for the one who causes them, with the intention that she will soothe them. In love poetry, the woman is often called the reason for my sorrow, or the reason for my death. The pain of love is known as sakam in Arabic, which means a physical disease. This kind of love is close to the pharmakon, quote, in the Platonic concept analyzed by the French philosopher Jacques Derrida, which is the pharmakon. It means it is the cause of the pain, the reason of the pain is also its remedy. That's love. The woman is the cause of the pain and the remedy. It's a very pharmakon concept. The lover's figure is feminized figure because he can no longer quote from himself. For me, virility in this society is related to the fact that you can control your emotion and pulsion, and especially sexual pulsion. And then at this moment is not in this control, so it is no more like a man. Is more in a feminist state. The French Islamologist and Arabist Régis Blacher points out this effeminization of the poet in the etymology of the term designating the author of Ghazal, of the poem Ghazal. So it means the author is Ghazil, which refers to plaintive manners of the feminine order. So the notion evoked by the term Ghazal, like the French also galanterie, we have galanterie, you say Ghazal is also very close to gallantry. It can be compared to the verb galer in French, which means the compliments made to a beautiful woman complains about its coldness or inaccessibility, and the description in the lover of effeminate, languid attitudes. The lover occupies a feminized position as a victim of passion. He seems to have lost the self-control accepted of men, and furthermore, his submissive attitude towards the object of his love testifies that he is in a situation of dependency, vulnerability, which is usually characteristic of the feminine position. More generally, the feminine position is a fundamental characteristic of a person in a state of passion. As the French author Roland Barthes states in a very, I don't know if it's published in English, but I think it's the most beautiful book about love that exists, which is the Fragment d'un discours amoureux. He says, in every man speaking the absence of the other, of the feminine declares himself. This man who waits and suffers from it is miraculously feminized. A man is not feminized because he's invert. He was himself homosexual. He used invert, but I mean, he was homosexual himself. But so it's not like he is not like against LGBTQ, etc. But so it's translated like this: a man is not feminized because he's invert, but because he is in love. So courtship has commonly been a male prerogative, while women are often not supposed to manifest their desires. Paradoxically, a man whose virility is characterized by self-control can be nevertheless possessed by passion, because for a man, being in the grip of such agony and confessing it to the one who has caused such disorder is an unavoidable preliminary step to the conquest of his beloved. However, even when the man in his state of this seduction phase marked negatively with passivity and suffering, it is only a temporary situation that represents minor harm on the way to conquer the woman. This position is also more assumed by the lover, that testifying to her desire for the beloved, it constitutes a way to flatter the femininity of the latter and make her succumb. This sort of feeling resembles the joy, is like the joy of troubadours in the Middle Age in Europe, which combines enjoyment and suffering. Likewise, the woman's refusal, far from repelling the lover, arouses his desire and his conquest for the woman. Furthermore, the lover's disappointment not only shows his beloved indifference, but also reveals the level of his love. Through these ordeals, men learn to control their desires. The woman's caprice or refusal is answered by the constancy of the lover. Here again, the vocabulary of medieval Occidental fin amour, l'amour courtois, can help in understanding the logic of the exchange between the lover and his beloved. Women give themselves gradually to their lover to test them, and the man is called a sufferer, or in medieval term, a sofridor. The poems, like the numerous presents and services offered to the beloved woman, participated in what Roland Barthes broadly calls the expenses of love. I think it's a very nice concept I use in my research of this Roland Barthes concept, who's never used, the expenses of love, which is the art of romantic love. The poems, like the numerous presents and services offered to the beloved woman, has commonly been a male prerogative, while women are most often not supposed to manifest their desires, except in an indirect way. Masculine love is brave, belligerent, and often compared to war, so in this poetry, and the courtesy context, which seems to glorify the woman, in fact underlies rivalry between men. Women are assets for what is in fact masculine rivalry and sometimes jealousy, because also these poems is this kind of rivalry between men about the most beautiful woman, and they also do a kind of war for a woman by who will tell her the nicest poem. So seduction is certainly a question of courting women, but it is also a way to perfect male qualities. So it's also related to masculinity. So to speak a little about my fieldwork in Mauritania, in the Moorish Society of Mauritania, these poems that I told you before, they are very well known and known by heart in this society, and so they inspire also the local poetic form, which is also in the local Arabic, which is Hassaniya. Maybe you've seen in Las Palmas, there are many people from Mauritania. You can see them with the woman with a nice veil and the man with a dra'a, you know, this is bubu in blue. You have many Mauritanian people you can see in Las Palmas. So now when you meet them, you can think about the poems and love. And the love poems in Mauritania are not the privilege of a handful. They are primarily composed by the aim of reaching the woman's heart, like Bedouin pre-Islamic poetry. So her first name, her body, her qualities and defects also. The defects of the woman are loved also, and they are quoted in the poems. So that is love. It's not only also he likes the defects of the woman. And so far from they are erotized and they are poetized. The poet's inspiration comes from his attraction to a woman whose beauty is usually praised. According to the sublimation process inherent to creation, the erotic parts of the woman's body are described in the poem. This Moorish poetry is similar to the West form of poetry named blason from the Middle Age and codified during the Renaissance, which praises some elements of the woman body. So like, for example, a smile, that her teeth, most of the time also her legs in the poetry is very important because the legs, there was a veil, the veils, but you can see the bottom of the leg and the feet, which are very important. So what the man can see. Like I say, if the charms of the beloved are honored by the poet, they have also glorified a defect in an affective way. Is the most beautiful declaration of love that a man can make to a woman than to express this love to her in spite of her defects. It shows that the woman is not considered as an ideal or a perfect woman, an object of crystallization. You know, the concept of crystallization was created by the French novelist Stendhal. It's in the 18th century and 19th century. Stendhal define crystallization is what I call crystallization is the operation of the mind which draws from all that is present the discovery that the love object has new perfection. So the poet is in love with a singular, is not like ideal woman or crystallization of the woman, but the poet is in love with a singular and imperfect woman, loving her the way she is, whatever her imperfections. So in the Moorish society of Mauritania, the sphere of seduction and passion, very often poetized, coexist in parallel with the marital sphere. It is never the wife to whom the poet addresses poetry, but to another woman that he desires. Masculine love poetry arises from a man's unsatisfied desire for a woman. Among Moors, so two kinds in Mauritania, among Moors, two kinds of love coexist: love for wife, so conjugal love, we can say, and love for mistresses, sometimes not one, but more than one, which is love passion in a very Islamic society. Yeah? You can see it from the beginning that it's more complicated than what we see on TV. The first feeling is a marital feeling which develops within the framework of conjugal relationship, and the second a passionate love which is exclusive to mistresses. Passion is forbidden while marital love is licit. The first belongs to the domain of the pleasure and immediacy, while the second involves a sense of duty and duration over time. These two kinds of love have evoked in a poem using the metaphor of water, which is particularly significant in a desert region where it is a very valuable resource. So the poem refers to a married man is going on a journey with goat skin full of water. I think also it exists goat skins full here in Las Palmas before. On his way, as a flash of lightning announced rain, he pours the water out of his goat skin. So the flash of lightning represents the love for a woman as a first sight, so it's patient love. And the rain falling is the image of the patient which makes the man abandon his reserves of water, and the reserves of water is symbolic of the marital relation. You see this the two kind of water is a metaphor for these two kind of love. So it shows that the idea of love at first sight is not only a Western idea, as also some historians, as the French historian Jean-Claude Bollon claim, because we can track also this concept of idea of love at first sight in classical Arabic poetry. For a long time, it was rather unusual for anthropologists to reveal this hors-champ of passionate love, especially in the Muslim world. Anthropologists prefer to focus on the alien system, neglecting extramarital relationship occurring before, during, or after married life. However, even if they are rarely an object of study, extramarital relationships are not uncommon in many societies, and at least also in Mauritania. So I think I will finish, yes, just maybe 2 minutes and finish, thank you. Okay, so well, I think that to conclude, I wanted to focus on this Arab poetry and Arab chivalry. So Arab poetry from the 6th century, but also Arab chivalry from the 14th century, known as Futuwa. And some historians even hypothesize that Arabic chivalry pre-exists European chivalry and influenced it by Andalusia in Spain. This courtesy code is very similar to which appeared in the West during the Middle Age. The similarity is related to the common medieval culture, which can be found in broad terms in both the Christian West and the Muslim East. The courtesy code does not contradict Islamic values, which have been present in the region for a long time. So maybe just to conclude, so love is not born in the West. Maybe it's born everywhere, but it's born also in Arabic and pre-Islamic country, and maybe also l'amour courtesy love that we know in the medieval West. Maybe also it comes from the futuwa, from the Arabic courtesy code and chivalry, because of the Andalusia, where the Arabic were present and where Muslim, Jew, and Christian live in the same area and influence together. So the hypothesis is, I think it's very subversive to say that today, that maybe that the l'amour courtois that we know that is very occidental is coming maybe from Arabic influence, but so which is not so common to say that. Okay, thank you.